Welcome back to the second edition of Ask Richard. I'm just going to spotlight you, Richard.
Okay.
Thank you. I just want to say a warm welcome to everyone for attending today. I'm so happy to be here with you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Renee Morris. I'm your host today. I'm a Quantum Touch ambassador and certified practitioner, and we are here today with Richard Gordon, energy healing pioneer, visionary, and founder of Quantum Touch, who's going to answer all of your burning questions about energy healing. Right, Richard?
You bet. Yeah.
Wonderful.
We're on.
So we're going to kick it off right away. Is that okay for you, Richard?
Absolutely.
Excellent. There's a question Stevie Daglish posted in the comments. He says, there's so much confusion about diet and nutrition. What's the best diet for Quantum Touch?
There is no official diet for Quantum Touch, but I do have some recommendations that I think are very important. You see, people's physiology is different. And personally, I've moved from a vegan diet to a carnivore diet because it was working better for me. But you can run the energy with any diet. And like Deborah Gare is vegetarian, I'm not. It doesn't affect the running of energy. But here's what I will say. Absolutely. Almost nobody is eating an optimum diet based on your own understanding, beliefs about nutrition and what you know. So here's a really simple thing you can do immediately. Every single week, make one small choice to do better than you did the week before. If you learn something new and say, well, I should be taking vitamin D3. Okay, add vitamin D3. I could stop eating Oreos. All right, stop eating Oreos. Make one decision each week that you're not going to go back on. Stay with that decision and keep making a new decision every week to improve your diet and lifestyle. So as you research and understand, oh, I need to hydrate myself. That means I need to take magnesium and perhaps calcium, potassium, and sodium. All right, that's become part of my protocol. So keep improving your protocol. You see, what you want to do is you want to raise your life force energy, both through the breathing and body awareness exercises, but through your diet and lifestyle. So as you optimize yourself, then you're going to run the energy all the better, and you'll be healthier and have more intentionality and ability to work with the energy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Richard. As a side note, at some point during the live, I'd love for you to talk about your upcoming event.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, we'll keep going with the questions. So, Mary, come on up on camera. You were the first to raise your hand. Just unmute yourself, and I will spotlight you.
I have a question with two parts. Can Quantum Touch heal emotional trauma and generational trauma?
Here's the thing. Quantum Touch will relieve the pressure from the trauma, but it doesn't fix the trauma, because trauma is something that we chose in this lifetime to be able to grow spiritually. And it's a very deep, profound choice. If I took your trauma away, it would be a kind of spiritual rape, because you went through all these incarnations to be able to have this trauma and learn how to overcome it in a conscious way. And if I were to steal it and say, oh, I could just lift it off you, that would be terrible, because you worked to have those parents and the traumas and all the things that happened quite specifically. But here's the deal. The traumas are all potential dark miracles. Mm-hmm. When you get to the other side of the trauma, you realize it was a miracle. But at the time of the trauma, it's just dark. Now, you've heard the story 1,000 times. Everybody tells it. It's in the movies, that the person overcame and then they became who they wanted to be, right? That's what trauma is there for. But it's just trauma until you heal it. So I developed an entire system that took 30 years called self-created health, that teaches you how to find the emotional causes of health conditions, but it can also relate to money or relationship issues. Could relate to all kinds of things, because we know how to discern the reality, how to find what's deeper than the symptom. Yes, Quantum Touch can create this wonderful state of relaxation and inner peace and help the body heal faster, but it's not designed for that purpose of releasing the trauma, that requires some concise work. So we identify it, we release the hurt, anger, shame, and guilt that's underneath the trauma or that's holding the trauma in place. Then we go through the recognition process that, yeah, they did it to me, but I carried it all these years myself, and I harmed myself, and I harmed other people in the process. And that leads to remorse, the fourth step of the process. And the remorse isn't a lifestyle, it's 5 or 10 minutes where you dive into the depth of, wow, I really hurt myself. And once you've done that, you've pulled the bow back so far. When you're ready to do the self-forgiveness process, it's not like saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you. It's like, holy, fill in the expletive, and feel the self-love of overwhelming capacity. And not only do symptoms disappear, but people feel grateful for having had the condition. That is the complete spectrum of the healing that happens from this work. And that's called self-created health. It's not taught often, but we do have teachers teaching it. The book was supposed to come out 12 years ago, but it's been unfortunately delayed. And but it's a spectacular system. And I would say on a negative side of my system, only about 35% of the people using it come out the other side because they need somebody to hold their hand. So we have coaches now to say, if you're not willing to dive into the depths of your emotion and you're not willing to go all the way through the process, you'll get partway through and then you give up on yourself. And that happens to almost 2/3 of the people. So that's why we have coaches now who say, okay, just stay with it. Come on, keep going. Keep going. Come on, you can stay with it, and just kind of encourage people, and they go all the way through the process then. So the process is great. People give up on themselves often, but that doesn't mean the process doesn't work. It just means they need a helping hand to say, okay, let me stay with it. And you don't need to go to a psychotherapist for this because it's self-explanatory, because all the steps just naturally flow. When you discover the cause, of course, you want to do the release and heal the hurt, anger, shame, and guilt, which is at the foundation. And the fear is just the expectation of hurt, anger, shame, or guilt. But we say it's just fear. No, it's specific emotions you're afraid of, and it's specific projections of futures that you're projecting in the fear. So we put together the system, and psychotherapists say, why didn't they just teach us this in college? This is all we really needed to know, was how do you find the cause? How do you release it? How do you heal it? How do you forgive yourself? How do you move on? So that's where the trauma is dealt with quantum touch.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary, for your question. Our next question will be from Elaine Vaughn. So Elaine, feel free to unmute yourself.
I realized, Richard, that you wrote about this at the end of your first Quantum Touch book, but I'd love to hear more about your thoughts, dreams, visions of a future for humanity where quantum touch is integrated into our society, where it becomes very normal, what that would look like.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm actually working
Great
on that
question.
because I'm putting together what I'm calling the New Paradigm event, April 19th in Austin, Texas, where this is the last thing I'm going to be talking about in my demonstrations and lectures, showing why quantum touch would change physics, medicine, psychology, human identity, philosophy, and much more forever. This is an historic event. But a couple of the things that come to mind is, first, life force energy represents a new branch of science. And it's a new branch of science because it's a bridge between science and spirituality, between the physics and the metaphysics, that it's not limited by time or space. So in one of my demonstrations I did a while ago, I meditated to align a woman's hips 10 minutes from now. And I sent her the energy and I nervously measured her. And, oh, she's still misaligned. Okay. And then I measured 10 minutes later and she was fully aligned. And we know, with Renee, I mean, I've done videos where I was able to align people 5,000 miles away on Zoom calls. So distance doesn't matter. So the vision, that part of the vision is a new branch of science that would affect physics, medicine, psychology, human identity, and philosophy. But much more than that, I've got a much bigger vision. And I really want to talk to Elon Musk. If anybody's friends with him, just give me a call, okay? But the idea is this, or Robert F. Kennedy would be great for this too, maybe even Donald Trump. But the idea is very simple. Just throw $3 billion toward this problem. This is a rounding error in the US budget. It's nothing. But what we do is we create a new university in the world. And I call it a Synergy Solution University that studies every solution good for humanity. It studies healing, it studies agriculture, it studies architecture, it studies alternative energy sources, everything that might be beneficial to humanity. And you bring in the brightest, most enthusiastic teachers, students, people from around the world. And as a safeguard, every department is open to every other department. So anybody can come into any department and say, what are you working on? Oh, what if I add this idea to it? Great, let's study it, let's find out. And so we're open to all ideas. And my dream is that I'd like to have a little house on campus and I can just wander around everywhere and see what they're doing and say, well, look, you've got these seeds. What if I run energy at the time of germination? And we see how it changes the DNA. Oh, we're creating spiritually modified organisms, and we can come up with hundreds and hundreds of solutions. And then the solutions that are financially viable end up becoming sources of wealth for the inventors and the university. So this is a vision that I have, and to allow ourselves the freedom to not be bogged down by the academic prison that currently exists, where academics are all guarding their territory and they're guarding their old paradigms of belief and believing that, they are the expert. Oh, there it is. Come on, get your legs out of there. Come on. There you go. All right, now we're good. All right. So they're the guardians of truth, and they can't let anybody else in the door because they have their positions to protect. So my vision is that we explore all the avenues of this work, but far beyond the work, because the work can synergize with so many. I mean, what if you take every kind of alternative healing work and say, oh, this herbology works really well with the energy, and then this acupuncture thing works really well with this. And we look at every synergy solution that exists. Regardless of branding, we don't care about that. We just want to find out what really works. And then you create new kinds of institutions, new kinds of insurance hospitals, different kinds of medications or whatever, based on this, and stop guarding the old institutions that are broken, because medical care is based on a system of treating symptoms, knows nothing about healing, and all they're arguing about is who pays for something that is destructive to the body and doesn't cause an acceleration of healing. So that's some of my vision.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. Nobody's ever asked me that. I've always wondered why, but you were the first.
Thank you so much, Elaine. That's a great question. So next we'll have Marcy come up. And just a reminder, there's some great questions in the chat, but we're going to prioritize people who come up on camera. So if you're comfortable with asking your question on camera, then raise your hand and I'll be sure to call you. So Marcy's next. So Marcy, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead anytime.
Well, hello, Richard, Renee. Glad to be here.
Hi.
Hey, Marcy.
Thank you.
Hi. So I took one of the older workshops back in '07, and I recently bought some of your books. They've been kind of updated. There's new information.
Yes.
And what was a surprise to me in my life, I live clean, and I ended up with osteoporosis, spinal fractures, and a nervous system thing where my right arm, my right hand, and I'm right-handed, is like tremors, so I can't do my work. And
Yes.
I've been like brushing, sweeping, clearing chakras,
Yes.
Can you speak to this at all? What would
Yes.
you
Yes.
suggest?
So back in about 1993, I was having really bad hip problems. What is that? 7 plus 25 is about 32 years ago, right? I was, and I'd have to roll my hips and hear a little huge knocking sound every time I rolled my hips. I had lost most of all the cartilage in the hip, and I'd lost a lot of bone, and I had osteoporosis. But I reversed it nutritionally, not energetically. And what I did was I followed a very simple formula. And the formula was I was using something called Bone Up. So now I can advertise. It's by Jaro, called Bone Up, in a yellow container. And they may have changed the label, I don't know. And it just happens to be on my desk because I'm using it again. And what I also used was a colloidal mineral. And the colloidal mineral was from Rockland or Clark's because it provides an acid environment and the microminerals. So this is being recorded, so you can look it up. Then I also had gelatin or collagen. Now, if you take calcium, it's destructive. Unless you take the collagen or gelatin along with it, because the calcium is like a brick, and the collagen and the gelatin is like the mortar that holds the brick. If you just put bricks on, they'll fall over. They don't stick. But if you have the collagen with it, and the other thing so you can mix some colloidal minerals, maybe an ounce per 100 pounds of body weight, roughly, and you can do it 2 or 3 times a day religiously. Stop eating so much. Stop eating the sugary things and the carbs that cause the body to dump sugar. The worst offender, of course, is soft drinks. And so what you do is you add in you can put a little bit of orange juice, like 3 or 4 ounces of natural orange juice, not the canned garbage, into the colloidal minerals. Take it with the collagen or gelatin and the calcium. But if you're over 45 or 50, what happens is a lot of people's stomach acid is reduced. And so you don't have enough stomach acid to absorb the calcium. And you want to do this with a protein meal. And so during the protein meal, you try 1 betaine hydrochloride, that's hydrochloric acid, to amp the amount of hydrochloric acid in the system. If you don't feel it, take 2 the next time. You don't feel that, take 3. If you feel it, take a couple extra calciums. It'll neutralize the extra stomach acid. So you need to have a high enough level of stomach acidity to be able to absorb the calcium and the gelatin or collagen. And once you do that, if you do this religiously every day for about a month, 2 or 3 times a day, with protein only, don't take the hydrochloric acid on an empty stomach. You'll just feel like you have an ulcer. That's not going to work. But if you do it religiously, in about a month's time, all your joints will start to feel lubricated. It took me about 8 or 9 months before my hip felt about 60, 70, 80% better. It took about 4 or 5 years before it felt 100%. So it's a protocol.
Well, right. And I've been a vegetarian for a long, long
that
time.
really hurt. That really hurts.
Okay.
It really hurts because all the vegetarians I know have osteoporosis. My dear friend, Bruce Berger, he looked at me and he goes, "Oh my God, it's like I'm still looking like a young man." And he's like my age and he's like completely bent over and like walking with a cane and completely hunched over. And I said, "Well, I know how to fix this. We take, and this Bone Up is made from MCHA calcium. It's made from bone. It's made from animals. These are animal products, but they're medicine. And it's what you didn't get by being vegan." And, philosophically, I'm still a vegan. I really don't support factory farms and all the horrible things that happen. I don't take glyphosate and I'm organic. Yes, absolutely. But in terms of my health and vitality, if you were to see how strong I am now at age 76 and a half, You wouldn't believe it. A couple days ago, I did 17 chin-ups and 13 pull-ups. I did 26 dips. I am stronger than I was in my 20s. And I don't have any joint issues at all. Now,
Well, and do you lean more towards chicken and fish?
no,
Or
I
you
lean toward
everything?
red meat.
Interesting.
Red meat.
Okay.
Chicken feels weak and insubstantial. Fish is polluted, whether you're getting it from rivers or the ocean. Yeah, I would go towards, salmon, sardines, or oysters if I was going toward fish. And I do have some oysters and, salmon occasionally, but I find grass-fed beef is like a superfood.
Wow.
There's my cat saying hello. Hi, baby.
Well, and when you were petting him, I could see you petting his spine, and I'm like,
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, thank you for that, because yeah, after being a vegetarian for so long, it's a mental thing about
But
reaching for some meat.
but
Yeah.
the thing is, do you want to trade a wonderful philosophy for your health?
No.
Well,
That's a no.
that's really what it comes down to, because
Yeah.
I love the philosophical idea, but what most people don't understand is that the process of harvesting beans or other vegetables kills all the ground animals living on the land. It not just kills the insects and the worms, but it also kills the moles and the squirrels and the baby rabbits, and thousands and thousands and thousands of other animals are being sacrificed every time you harvest the corn or the wheat or all these things, because all the ground animals are slaughtered in the harvest. I can eat one cow for about 2 years. And the cows,
Well,
I mean, it's just an idea. I'm not really arguing that this is the best idea, but it's what works for me. And I'm feeling incredibly vital.
well, and I'm desperate here. So my takeaway, to be clear, was red meat, but no carbs or sugar. Is that
Well, I would say use carbs moderately. Do a lot of research, watch a lot of videos on the carnivore diet or lion diet, and you're going to see people who have lost 250, 300 pounds and they're svelte and strong after giving up being vegan. And it's crazy how effective it is, but it takes time for your body to adjust. And because you've been vegan so long, you probably have very low levels of hydrochloric acid. You might want to drink a lot of celery juice in the transition to help build up your hydrochloric acid in the stomach, and use a good salt also. Don't spare on the salt, and hydrate yourself. So it's very important. But anyway, I'm getting way off quantum touch, but you asked a good question,
well,
and that's where we are.
all right. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your question, Marcy. A very interesting conversation. I have Don Burke. Come on up. Just unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi. This is actually Lenore.
Go ahead.
Don's there. I'm here. The questions
Okay.
are really from me at the moment, but okay. I have so many questions.
Okay.
Since you were just talking about red meat, I just want to just for 2 seconds continue with that for a minute, because Don was recently diagnosed with a swollen or partially clogged artery back here. And I did some research and looking the whole trans fats thing, and I've been totally on his tail, because if he could be a carnivore, he would, and if I could be a vegetarian, I would. So we like.
Okay, I have a really good idea for you, and this is for everybody. This is so much fun. Go to ChatGPT and ask any question about nutrition, health, or anything at all, but give it a caveat and say, I want information outside the influence of big pharma and their money. Now you ask the question, and it's all about health, healing, vitality, nutrition that helps you, and everything else. If you ask the question, they'll say, oh, take statins and do this and do that and be very afraid and all that kind of stuff. But if you ask the question, if you look outside of the influence of big pharma, what would you suggest about A, B, or C? And you will get a completely different set of answers that are actually quite good.
Okay. All right. That's one thing. We have been trying, I am ill. I have cancer. And Don has been trying to use your procedures on me.
Yes.
And, we're just wondering, how closely do we have to follow? Like, does he have to do the brush before every session?
No, the brush is what happens inside himself.
No, when you go, maybe I'm saying the wrong word, but when you were doing.
Yeah, you're sweeping inside, you're sweeping a sensation inside yourself with every breath. Yes, you do that. So on every inhalation, you're feeling the sensation move through your body. But here's the other thing. With cancer, and this is a generalization, it's not necessarily you, but it's probably you. What happens is cancer patients are known as the nicest person in the world. Too good to be true. Prince of a fellow. The ideal patient. And what they found is the cancer patients willing to get really angry are the ones that survive the longest. And when they looked at cancer cells under a microscope, the most virulent ones looked, quote, angry under the microscope. So it turns out that the main function, the main aspect of cancer is suppressed anger. And if you might study self-created health and learn to release not your anger, but the child anger, the inner child or the adolescent, the one that's still traumatized, not you, because you still love your parents and they're sweet people and whatever, maybe they died, but whatever it was, that isn't your thing now, but it's trapped in time. It could be the adolescent or the young adult, it could be the child that's holding on to this rage or the traumas that happened in your life. And as you release the intensity of that rage, the cancer doesn't need to be there. And as you do the forgiveness processes and move through, you become a different person. And then you see the dark miracle happen. So the self-created health is my most profound workshop because it really takes a person right to the core of their being, helps them transform themselves and come out the other side a new person.
I was going to ask you how you think, I guess you just answered it, how closely are your experiences and your stress and your personal challenges related to this a manifestation of disease, right?
100%, 100%, 100.
Right.
There's no fine print. And if there was fine print, it would say there is no fine print. That at the very core of our being is the love. And everything that gets in the way of the love takes us further from ourselves. And when we bury the hurt and the anger, and they're like plywood, underneath the hurt is anger and underneath the anger is hurt and so forth. It just goes in layers. As we uncover that and release it, we don't need to destroy ourselves from the inside. The body has the ability to be sick, not as a dysfunction, but a communication from your higher self on how you stop loving. And so what we do is we find exactly what the reason is. And it turns out everything about the symptoms and the emotions and the functions are a perfect mirror of emotions you didn't want to experience. So in the self-created health, the first step of the process of 7 steps is finding out exactly what the emotions are that you didn't want to experience. And now we have a map. And then we have tools for releasing the hurt, anger, shame, and guilt of the child and adolescent and so forth. And then you go through the remorse and the forgiveness processes. And that's how it works. But I would really encourage you to work with one of our self-created health instructors, and they can hold your hand and walk you through the process, even without taking a workshop.
Find a healer, a person like that?
So a self-created health practitioner on the website, on Quantum Touch. Renee will help you find one.
If you want to ask me for a link directly, then you can email me at renee@quantumtouch.com. So just renee@quantumtouch.com.
I will add this
ahead, Richard.
one thing. The way I discovered it was that I woke up one morning with severe flu symptoms, deep gurgling, chest cough, high fever, sore throat, the whole works. And I had just attended a seminar that said that all health conditions are suppressed emotions. So I thought, what am I upset about? I couldn't find anything. I looked everywhere. I looked at my childhood. I couldn't find anything. And then I suddenly remembered that a few days before I felt really humiliated when a friend said something to a group of people. And I started letting myself feel all my emotions and I vented like crazy. And then about an hour later, I was sitting in the sun having a cup of coffee, realizing, oh my God, I was sick this morning. Deep gurgling, chest cough, high fever, sore throat to nothing in 1 hour. That's when I first realized self-created health could work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leonora.
Thank you.
And for everyone, all of the workshops are listed on the Quantum Touch website, which is www.quantumtouch.com. So Richard, Rishi is asking, how can Quantum Touch be applied to manifest an abundant life? Isn't that what we all want? So go ahead, Richard, all yours.
Well, the abundant life is probably is probably a better expression of self-created health than quantum touch in and of itself, because it deals with the blockages. You see, you need to access your passion and intensity. The biggest human blockage is the unwillingness to feel the intensity of emotion. And the truth is that the pain we feel is much greater than we want to feel. But the love we can feel or have access to is deeper than we can know. The love goes deeper than the human physiology can even experience. But by releasing the intensity of the emotions and then developing a new self-image of who you are, we can access these greater things. Now, one of the things that people are always wanting is longevity. If you're having a good life, you want longevity. You're having a terrible life, you don't really care about it that much. So if you're having a good life, the question is, can quantum touch affect longevity? And I have a new theory, and it's so ridiculously simple. I'm sure academics are going to ignore it or pan it or say it's really stupid. But the idea is this: all aging is entropy. Entropy is going from order to disorder. If you cut your finger, that's entropy. You went from order to disorder. If you heal your finger, that's syntropy, the opposite, or negentropy. You're going from disorder back to order again. Now, my idea is if you get the energy high enough, strong enough, and long enough, you can overcome the entropy and the body can get younger. So Renee, do you see the email I sent you?
Yes, I did. That's amazing.
Okay. Now, I wanted to show a picture of Jennifer Taylor, the fearless CEO and master magic person of Quantum Touch. And the picture on the left is her from 3 years ago. And the picture on the right is her a week ago. Can we put that up there?
I'm going to see if I can try to share it, but I'm not exactly sure if I can. But just give me 1 second. Keep talking, Richard.
Okay. Yeah. So what's happening is we are seeing indications And we've got a new workshop called Becoming Ageless, and we're going to be teaching it through the Shift Network soon. So if you want to take this workshop, it's at a ridiculously low price. I can't even believe they're charging so little for it. But if you want a super bargain, go to the Shift Network, sign up on their mailing list, look at the Becoming Ageless class. Not sure it's listed yet, but it'll be listed soon. If it isn't, me and Deborah Gare are going to share it. And what we're seeing is men in their 70s are doubling the speed of their urine flow, sagging skin that just falls off your, your arms or whatever, that's tightening up 80-90%. We're seeing, you see the picture of Jennifer Taylor, and hopefully we'll get the, oh, I know how to show the picture. I'll just do it like this. Let's see, I just bring up this, I go here, here. Okay, now I can show the picture. I'll do it this way. This is a cheat code here, how to show a picture. So the picture of Jennifer with the wrinkles, that was 3 years ago. And the picture where she doesn't have the wrinkles, that was last week. Okay. And what we're seeing is if you get the energy high enough, strong enough, and long enough, not only are we overcoming the entropy, but we appear to be reversing the aging process itself. This is big news since that dude Ponce de Leon in what, 1512 or something? That's 512 or 13 years ago, was out and about in Florida looking for the fountain of youth. It turns out that the scientists ignore it because they don't believe energy healing is real. And it's so bloody obvious. So here's how I came across this. Like, you think I've come up with all these great discoveries? No, they're pretty obvious when you step in front of them. If you just keep looking at something long enough, you tend to see something that other people aren't noticing. So what happened to me was about 1.5 years ago, I was teaching a retreat in Cancun, amazing retreat called Becoming More, where we can use quantum touch to share our gifts with each other directly. And I was teaching it, and I'm looking at all these friends and quantum touch instructors that I hadn't seen in 10 years. And I suddenly noticed, oh, they don't look their age. So just the process of using quantum touch on a daily basis slows the aging process. And then I thought, well, what if we see how much we can amp the energy up to whole new levels, take it to whole new dimensions of running energy through yourself for the purpose of getting younger. And one woman in her mid-50s tells me she looks in the mirror every day and sees her breasts being lifted. And I said, send me photos. I can't believe it. She just laughed at me. But I said, it's for science. And she just laughed. But the point is, we are seeing so many indications now that we are able to reverse aging. Now, I can't say it's factual and it's absolutely true yet, because I'm always a little conservative on that level. But when you see sagging skin reversing, you see, I had crepe skin on my arm, and it's just not crepe at all anymore. It's completely smooth now. And I've seen reversals of all kinds of things. And so I asked ChatGPT, and I said, well, based on the changes in my body, how much younger am I getting? They said, well, at least 6 or 8 years younger per year now. So if I'm getting 1 year younger every 2 months, that's not a terrible speed. That's actually a pretty good speed. It'd be terrible if you got like 1 day younger every month. That would be really slow. But Jennifer appears to be like 10 years younger in about 9 months. And I have a hypothesis, and I could be completely wrong, but what I tend to think is the older you are, it may take a little longer to reverse aging, because your body doesn't have as the kind of vitality it did before. When you're 11 years old and you hurt yourself, you just recover really fast because the stem cells and all the other things are happening. But if you break down longevity into some of the fundamental things the scientists are saying, they say it has to do with the damage to the DNA, the telomeres are getting shorter, the cells are toxic, and the proteins aren't folding properly. These are fundamental beliefs about aging. But we also know, and they're not saying this out loud, that the telomeres know how to get longer. The DNA actually knows how to self-repair. The proteins know how to fold. The body certainly knows how to detoxify itself. So what is the problem? The problem is it needs the energy to do it. If you have children's blocks and you knock them over, they were all stacked up and you knock them down, that's entropy. What does it take to put the blocks back? It takes energy, intelligence, and will, right? You got to have the intelligence and the energy to stack them and the will to do so. If a car is slowing down, that's entropy. So how do you make it go fast again? You give it a push. It turns out that quantum touch and energy healing may be the push to reverse aging. And so something so obvious as being able to run energy may be the solution to aging. But what we're doing now with me and Deborah Gare is we are raising the energy to levels we've never seen before. We've never tried before, because that's the full intention of the new workshop, is how can we raise the energy to new heights? So we developed on the same day, we came up with a new meditation called the Infinity Vortex. And this just takes it to another level. But since we came up with that, I'm using 4 or 5 other methods of raising the energy even higher. So, you know, they say necessity is the mother of invention. And now we're just coming up with ideas on how to run the energy more powerfully than we ever have before. And that's the direction we're going now.
Great. Thank you, Richard. I'm very, very excited about the Becoming Ageless techniques. For me, it's really the cutting edge of energy healing right now. So we have a question, a great question that I have to ask from the chat, and then we'll move to Marcy, who has her hand up afterwards. So a little bit of a spicy question, Richard, from Stevie Daglish. Can I ask, can quantum touch help with sexual health and performance later in life? So tell us, Richard, how good does it get?
Well, it's work, because what you have to do is you got to get the energy above the entropy, and the hormonal levels are not the body's first priority. So you got to get your self-healing levels up to higher and higher levels. And yes, it can be reversed, but it is work. And it's a great work because you want to get your own vitality levels up, your own strength up, and your own energy up. And then along the way, the body will repair the hormonal levels as part of the larger healing process. And so none of these things happen overnight. And the further you are outside the realm of where you want to be, the longer it's going to take to come back. But what else do you got to do, right?
Great. Thank you, Richard. I really love applying energy healing to real life matters. So because often when we talk about energy healing, it's a little bit more abstract. So great question. Thank you, Stevie. So Marcy, come on up. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay, so quick question. You touched on the concept of time, and in the last book that I read, and how it relates to the energy, and also the paired, I want to say protons or electrons, and do they work with each other? Can you speak to time and how we can use it?
C to prime? What word?
Time.
Oh, time. Okay.
Time. Yeah. Like, how are we using the dimensions of time to facilitate?
Well, here's the thing. Time is actually an illusion. And when I wrote my book, The Secret Nature, Hacking the Law of Attraction, I figured something out so extraordinary. It's one of my best discoveries, one of my top 10, is that when people are using time, they're not using it well. So when people are using law of attraction, Abraham Hicks and all the other teachers are teaching a way to struggle. And the way they do it is imagine what you want, believe you have it, live as if it's true. Well, this is called lying to yourself because you don't have it. Imagine you're totally well. Imagine you're healthy. Imagine this. Well, you're not that. And your subconscious is going, yeah, right. That's not true. But there's a way to do it and work through time in a different way. So we kind of know that anything is possible. I mean, you could be in Paris tomorrow. It's not likely, but it's possible, right?
Right.
So that's a possible reality. So what you do with hacking the law of attraction is you work with time. And the way we work with time is pick a possible reality. I like, okay, a magic trick. Pick a card, right? Any card. Oh, I'll take this reality. Well, that's not now, is it? It's a different time. And what you do with that reality, this is why that book is so cool, is that you see that possible reality. Well, you take it from the side and you put it right in front of you. Because now I think it's off in the future somewhere, or maybe it's an impossible thing. It's way up here somewhere, but you bring it right in front of you. And then you send energy to it, especially heart chakra energy with quantum touch, and you love it up. You love that reality. It's a possible reality. And I give it love, and it becomes brighter, becomes more vibrant, becomes in front of you. It's real, it's louder, it's colorful, it's vibrant. And then after a minute or two of loving it, you relax and do nothing. And you let it love you. So you're letting that future love you now. Well, what happens in quantum touch? You learn to hold a high vibration in your hands, and the other person entrains to your vibration, right? That's all resonance and entrainment of quantum touch. What's this? It's resonance and entrainment with your future. Your future is holding a higher vibration than you are. And you kick back and relax and let the future love you. So you go through these 3 stages. The first stage, when you let the future love you, is you start to feel relief. Oh, what a relief. Oh, I can breathe. Okay, now it's changing you physiologically now. You're not imagining the new future, you're being changed by the new future. You know, the Bruce Liptons, and they're all talking about trying to embody the emotions of the new future. You're not trying to embody anything. You're receiving love. You're not doing, you're allowing. Everybody else is teaching doing, but doing isn't what works. It's allowing. It's not the law of doing. It's the law of allowing and attracting. So you receive from the future, and the first step is relief. And if the relief gets strong enough, it moves into joy. And if the joy gets strong enough and you keep doing it 10, 20, 30 times a day and just keep feeling, oh, that relief, now you start to feel the joy. And the joy will morph and become gratitude. But think of walking up 50 stairs. You don't jump to step 35. You just go to step 2 or 3 and you just keep moving. If you follow the steps up, you go through relief, and then the steps turn into joy, and then they turn into gratitude, and then you're in that vibration. And then the reality has to match your vibration. And other people are teaching it in this bizarre way, like make your vision board and say your affirmations and live as if it's true and act as if, and that's all doing. That's garbage, because you're trying to pretend and make the universe believe you're correct, instead of lifting your vibration and allowing the universe to match your vibration. See how backwards that is? And everybody has this backward metaphysics. And I feel like I'm entering a time in my life where I understand a clarity of metaphysics. And I've kind of always gotten it, but now I just feel like I'm owning it. That this is something everybody can just understand, and utilize without all the hoopla that comes along with it. Because you don't need the drama, and you don't need to put yourself on a pedestal, and you don't need to have all that hype and bravado. You just need to receive love. That was it. That was it all along.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you for
You're
clearing
welcome.
that up. And I felt wonderful just listening to you
Well,
speak.
thank you. And as you employ these things, your life will
Mhm.
be transformed.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Marcy,
thank
for
you.
your question. So we're going to have one more question because we're coming to the end of the hour. But first, Richard, I'd love for you to share about your event that's coming up
Oh, yeah.
in April. I'm very excited about that. So tell us a bit about that. And when we'll take one last question, and I will prioritize anybody who wants to come up on video for the last question. If not,
Let's see if I can
I'll
show
take one from
this
the
too. Since
chat. So go ahead, Richard.
I'm doing show and tell. Yeah, on April 19th, let's see, here we are at the Omni Hotel downtown in Austin, Texas. Dum-ba-dum. I'm going to be doing a landmark event in my life. This is a demarcation. It's going to be historic. And it's called the New Paradigm Event. And I'm giving a lecture demonstration to whoever buys a ticket and shows up. And I'm going to be showing some quantum touch things. We're going to talk about the aging process. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics, a new future and so forth. And these are things that would change physics, medicine, psychology, human identity, and philosophy forever. And we're going to be making it available to everybody. So I have a 3-camera shoot with lighting. We're going to videotape the whole event, and then we'll put it up online in little pieces and big chunks, or the whole thing all together, and let people see it. And I'm also working on a new process that I just started a few days ago, and it's astounding me. It's the most exciting thing that I've ever worked on. And it's sort of like top secret right now, but I'll tell you this. It's going to be an app that will encompass all the deepest wisdom I've had access to and more. And it's going to be like talking to a spiritual guide or teacher on a very profound level. And I'm going to be using it myself. It's the most amazing thing I've worked on. You see, I kept thinking I was going to write another book or 2 or 3, but people aren't reading anymore, and they're not. It's not engaging enough. So this is going to actually be engaging enough, and it's going to be the depth of everything and more that I put out in the world, and it's going to blow me away. Let's go to the next one.
Great. So that is for anybody who is in the Texas area who would like to attend April 19th at the Omni. Please tell all your friends, share the event. All the information is available online as well. So Richard,
Yeah.
Rosen put a question in the chat. Are you familiar with heart-brain coherence? How does that compare to channeling life force energy?
Well, it is an aspect of a physiological state that people often experience when they're working with the life force energy. And, I got to go up to Heart Math and meet Roland McCready, and they're doing a lot of the what do they call it? HRT, the heart rate variability, HRV. And it's good stuff. But running energy is a whole different kind of thing, because we're actually moving the life force energy. The heart rate variability is a symptom of running the energy, but the running the energy is the powerhouse. It's what's actually making it work.
Great, thank you so much. That was a short answer, so we have time for one more question, which I saw one. Stevie Daglish asks, I work in an office with lots of computers and Wi-Fi. I regularly try and run energy while at my desk. I was wondering, can quantum touch help protect with EMFs? Electromagnetic frequencies.
Yeah, of course. The frequencies may be causing damage to some people more than others. It's certainly a way of repairing damage in your body by running energy. And I encourage people to run energy as often as they're open to doing so. And what's really cool about running energy is you can do it while you're watching a movie. You can do it while you're at your desk. You can do it while you're solving math problems. It's not an intellectual process, and therefore you can multitask while you're doing it. You can run energy while you're talking to a friend, having a cup of coffee. And the more you practice, the stronger you get at working with the energy. So it's a lifelong skill to develop. And as you study the aging process and how we can work with becoming ageless, you find out that we need to amplify this energy in our body as far as we possibly can. And I've been developing some extraordinary techniques now that take it way beyond basic quantum touch. But basic quantum touch is enough to slow it down already. So if you haven't studied basic yet, really become familiar with running the energy in basic. And then learn level 2 and amplify the heart chakra energy. It's extraordinary. And then when you go here, we're taking it, I wouldn't call it level 3, but it's taking it way beyond, and we're stretching our abilities to run energy as powerfully as possible.
That sounds very exciting to me. Thank you, Richard. So for everyone who's here, I want to remind you that this is a monthly event. We're very blessed to have this time together with Richard. We're sharing his wisdom. And Richard, do you have a comment that you want to make before I close?
You can go to the newparadigmevent.com, or maybe it's New Paradigm Event. I can look it up. But anyway, let me see what it says. It says,
yes, newparadigmevent.com.
Yeah, newparadigmevent.com. And you can, get tickets or like that. Anyway, thank you everybody so much. Much love. And I'm really glad to share this time with you.
Thank you, Richard, for
Okay.
your wonderful answers. Thank you to everybody for their questions. So Richard's event is at newparadigmevent.com. For anyone who's interested in knowing more about quantum touch or taking any of the workshops, you can find the website at quantumtouch.com. And I was very happy to be here with you all today. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for listening and asking all your questions. And some of you made some lovely comments in the chat. I did notice them. I did read them. Thank you very, very much. And I will see you all again this time next month. To stay updated on the Ask Richard events, be sure to sign up for the Quantum Touch newsletter at quantumtouch.com. Thank you so much, everyone. Sending lots of love, light, and life force energy to you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.